Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3, and today I'm going to be giving you part 9 of What If Naruto Was Exiled from the Otsutsuki clan. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, stay in tune for the rest of the what ifs coming your way over Anime King and Anime King 2. And if you're new, yes, you heard that correctly. I indeed have 3 channels, Anime King, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. And yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last spot we left off, as Naruto was shocked what Menma said. When he said Kushina Uzumaki was a 4th Hokage, that startled Naruto a lot. As he then turned his head towards the fox, who seemed to take this in rather amusing fashion. It pissed Naruto off though, as he warned the fox. But Kurama tried to snarl, but the presence from Naruto shook the mindscape. As Kurama decided to relent and tell Naruto what he knew. He didn't know much. After all, he didn't actually see her death. That was the thing. No one actually knew how Kushina died, or who killed her, but she was dead. Once everything was over, Minato was the only one left standing, and he was in bad condition. He was on the brink of death, he was gonna die anyway, and he performed the seal with his last remaining strength. And sealed half of the fox inside of Menma, and half within himself that he took to the grave. Naruto took Menma as he seemed to walk inside the council room. He placed the boy to sleep as he turned the pressure on the council. They tried to speak over him as Naruto told Koharu to shut her mouth. As one mere glance from him made her shake in fright, as he warned Hiruzen to choose his next words carefully, because if he found out that they kept his precious daughter away from him and they took his wife, he was gonna destroy this village down to the last man. He was dead serious. Hiruzen was precise on how he said his words and phrased them. Well, he wasn't exactly lying. Well, he left out the part that Danzo was the elderly person that kidnapped Kushina. Well, not really kidnapped, but he phoned her. Yes. And Naruto could tell when someone was lying. And Hiruzen wasn't really lying, but he just tell the truth in another way. So his heart beat. Everything about him was calm as Naruto Byakugan was looking at him. As Naruto could see that the man was telling the truth, he then calmed down as everyone was surprised how quick his demeanor changed. Soon after Menma woke up as Naruto took him, he was arguing about taking 90 or some out of him. But Menma said no, as he didn't want anything bad to happen while it was going on and more people to get hurt. But Naruto assured him that wouldn't happen, but Menma told him that he would become friends with the fox, and he would control the power, and he would become one of the strongest ninjas and the best Hokage ever. As Naruto agreed, but as long as everything was okay, but if anything happened out of line, he would be taking out the fox outside of him. He didn't care what the council or anyone else said as he left. Well, that problem was solved. At least Konoha was still standing. But this still proved something unhealthy for the village. There was someone in the village that they could not control, that they could not bend towards your will. Someone that did not have the same principle as many others. And that kind of worried them a bit. What if he snapped? It wouldn't be good for anyone. Danzo had to throw his plans out of the window for now, until he find a way to control Naruto, as Hiruzen was coming up with a plan. Meanwhile, Menma took Naruto to meet all of his precious people, including Ichiraku family and Rin. As Kushina had chose her students and told them about her life, well, who her father was, Rin was shocked to see him, and given the fact that he was so young, it seems like his vitality was truly incredible. As he then took Naruto to meet His best friend. Well, Sasuke was his best friend, despite Sasuke didn't want to say it. As Mikado was pissed off, she didn't know who this person was, trying to take advantage of Naruto. But she wouldn't let it happen. So yeah guys, that was basically that's what I thought you guys can switch across the place street of yourself. So it's begins view. Episode. Two boys stood in the field, their eyes sharp and narrowed, as they looked at each other, waiting for the perfect opportunity. And it finally came when a single leaf fell off the tree that was hovering over them, and the both of them moved. They clashed in the center. These boys are none other than Sasuke Uchiha and Menma Namikaze. They were in the second year of the academy, and the both of them were unusually skilled. Despite the hatred that Menma got from the people, they didn't outright try to abuse him in any way. It was always glares and talk behind his back. Well, some shopkeepers, most of them, didn't want to sell him, but he never let that put him down or damper his spirit. But the boy was strong, unusually so. He picked up things really fast, really quickly. Well, when he knew who his mother and grandfather was, you would understand. And not to mention his large chakra reserves, coming from his grandmother. Without the fox, Menma chakra was unusually high. Well, the Uzumaki genes was a lot in him, despite the lineage going down. He still had a high capacity of chakra inside of him. On the fighting sense, Sasuke was more skilled, using the Uchiha style of fighting, not using the academy style. But when it comes to raw strength, Menma outpaced him with that. As Menma grabbed Sasuke and flipped him over his shoulder, throwing him towards a tree. Sasuke flipped as his feet touched a tree. He blasted off as they clashed once again. Meanwhile, at the back of the yard, watching the two boys was none other than Naruto himself. As Naruto stood there, Mikado was at his side. She still couldn't believe it. When she saw his eyes and saw his hair, after hearing her best friend Kushina told her the description, she was remembering them and she looked at him now. And from hearing what he said, she believed him. She saw the compassion and care in his eyes, but still, she would speak the Hokage, but she was still shocked. Because in no way does he look like a grandfather. In no single way. Well, the Uzumakis does have a long lifespan. But this was just ridiculous. Because something that Kushina said to her in the past, well, it really shocked her. Mito had told Kushina that her father had trained both Hoshirama and Tobirama. And that can't really make sense. Because no way he was supposed to look so young. And despite the years that passed, there was not even a single wrinkle in any sign that he was old or aging. Your son is quite fast, and his reflex is on point for someone his age. Mikado focused back on her precious boy. Ever since the attack, the unknown attack that happened on the Uchihas that slaughtered all of their main forces, and not to mention her husband, she has made sure that Sasuke and Itachi were always close. Itachi had other business to conduct, seeing that he was a leader of their small clan now. But still, he was always here, when he had the time, and she made sure that they all sit down and had dinner together, as she loved their boys, and she didn't want anything happening to them. But when it comes towards raw strength, it seems like Menma is outpacing him, said Naruto. Mikado noticed that. Menma was always a special child, and he was always going to be one, given who his parents were, and now to find out who his grandfather was. Most of the kids did not know. Well, they didn't really know about the history. They knew that there was some calamities in the Second Great Shinobi War, but only the older and veteran shinobis knew that there was a single man that devastated 3 nations. And this man was the man right beside her, sipping the tea so calmly, given his whole demeanor and the softness in his eyes. And the way he smiled at his grandson, you would never knew that he was that deadly, as he looked so kind. Mikado-san, as she looked towards him, would you mind answering a few questions for me? What would that be, she asked. About his life growing up here. I've seen the people that he told me is his precious people, but there's just a few of them. I don't know the full extent of his mistreatment in this village. Can you elaborate on that? Mikado was afraid to say a single word, because she wasn't sure what she should do. This man had devastated 3 nations because of what they did to him in the past. To find out that his grandson was being mistreated here would be bad. She felt a hand on her shoulder as she looked up. Do not worry. I have already spoken to your Hokage, and I assure you, I will not just fly off the handle and do anything to Konoha. How can I believe your word, she asks. Despite him being Minma's grandfather, she didn't know if she could fully trust him. After all, innocent people in those villages. Despite everything, kids, people that didn't do anything in this war. Because he's happy, said Naruto, as he looked towards Minma. Despite everything that he has been through so far, he still has a smile on his face, and he's happy. And I wouldn't do anything to jeopardize that. She saw those look in his eyes once again. The way his eyes crinkled, he was telling the truth. It hasn't been well, she said. But despite that, Minma has pushed forward past it all because he wants to be the next Hokage. And that is his dream, his goal. I've asked him many times and his dream has never wavered, not even once. And I truly believe that he can do it. He has the determination, he has the power, and he will do it, she said. As Naruto chuckled at that, with a happy smile on his face. Now I can see why you're one of his precious people. I'm rather grateful for you, for looking after him. His mother would have been happy. Thank you, said Naruto. Can I ask where have you been all this time, she asks. Surely, you must have heard about Kushina. She was one of the strongest in her time. Her skill, her strength, was even said to surpass the first and the second Hokage. So how didn't you know and come back to the village? She really wanted to meet you. She went to Uzu, I went with her. She set up seals all over there, just in case you come back that she could meet you, but you never did. Where were you all this time? It doesn't matter, all over the Elemental Nation her name had spread far and wide. That is the main reason why Minma's identity cannot be revealed, because his mother had gained a lot of enemies. So where have you been all this time, she asks, her tone getting a bit hard. Because despite everything Kushina, her power, her strength, she always wanted to meet her dad. Growing up and never having one, never having a real parents, it was hard on her. Mito had tried her best and tell her everything about her mother, but Naruto had spent most time. Because Mito had moved away from the Uzumaki land for a long time since she was young, but Naruto had spent every waking moment with Kushina. So, his daughter would like to know from him, what was her mother like? And she always wanted to know what was he like. I'm afraid I was not in a good place, said Naruto, as he looked up to the heavens. I can see the look in your eyes. Despite knowing that I'm his grandfather, you know that I won't hurt him by just a single glance. I can see that you're a good judge of character, but yet, you do not trust me, said Naruto, because of what I've done. And I'm sure once most people recognize, well, the council members have already noticed. My hands are stained with blood, not just the enemy but the innocent, as he looked towards his hands. I lost it back then. Those nations. I'd warned that man. I warned him not to act against the Uzumakis, but yet he still did. And they slaughtered everyone. They took everything away from me, my best friend. Someone I came to love more than anything in this world. My unborn child. I thought I lost them all. So I retaliate. I didn't justify anything, and I can't do that. I did what I did because I wanted to. And then I left. And for a long time I wasn't in a good place. But I still had memories of the Elemental Nation. So I returned to find out that I have a grandson. And it pains me in my heart to know that I will never get to meet my daughter, because I was gone, mentally and physically, said Naruto. As she saw him looking up to the skies, he spoke. The way he spoke, it sounded like he wasn't even anywhere in the Elemental Nation, like he wasn't on this planet. But that would just be crazy, right? She did remember something one time when her and Kushina got drunk, and Kushina was blurting out nonsense that her father was from a distant planet away. But that was just drunk in Kushina. She always did crazy things while she was drunk. I'm sorry, said Minato. It's not your fault, said Naruto. I am the one to be at blame here, for not returning sooner than later. She looked towards him. Can I ask you something, she said. What is that? This might sound crazy and ridiculous, but Kushina once told me that, well, you're not from this planet. She said in a joking tone. And given your disappearance, and not knowing that Kushina was alive all this time, given the fact that you came back for Menma, I know that you would have come back to speak to Kushina as well. So, that's a joke, right? Before Naruto could say anything, a scream could be heard, as both of them looked up. When they saw Menma high up in the sky as Sasuke was looking up with a pure, shocked expression in his face. As Menma screamed out for help, as Naruto blasted off, Mikato's ear blew back as she watched him flew straight up in the air. Sasuke's eyes went wide as Naruto caught the boy in his arms and stood in mid-air. As Menma had his eyes closed, he felt someone hold on to him. What's going on? He asked as he looked around. His face then lighted up when he saw Gigi, he said, as Naruto patted the boy on his head. How did you get up here? I don't know. One moment I was fighting Sasuke and next, bam, I was up here. As Naruto simply chuckled. Well, I should be instructing you on how to use your abilities. Wait, you're gonna teach me, Gigi? Of course, said Naruto. There are things that you don't know about your body, and things that you have to learn. After all, you're one special kid. Because of the fox? No, not him. You, said Naruto as he poked him right in the chest. You're really special. As Menma smiled at that before you realized something. Gigi? What's going on? What do you mean? Well, we're still in the air. As Naruto looked down, Sasuke's eyes were wide as he looked up. Mikado wasn't so shocked. As from what she's heard, Kushina wasn't able to fly, but she could stay in the air for a long while, using her wind affinity. But he was literally flying. Well, she shouldn't be so surprised, after all. When you knew who this man was, you shouldn't be surprised. He had far more power than any Hill beast to wipe out 3 nations. He was basically like a god amongst all of them. And yet he was here, so calm, so happy. We're flying, said Menma, as Naruto simply chuckled as he started to descend back down to the ground. The moment his feet touched down. Hey, how did you do that, said Sasuke. See, Sasuke, said Menma, as he looked over Naruto's shoulder. Told you my grandfather was the best. I bet anyone can do it, Sasuke said. We just have to try. As Sasuke started to jump, but nothing was working. Damn it, he said. Sasuke? As Sasuke froze. What did you just say? Asked Mikado. Oh, nothing, Sasuke said. He said, damn it, said Menma as he stuck his tongue out at Sasuke, with a jovial smile on his face. As Naruto poked him on the forehead. Ow, Gigi, he said. You shouldn't be repeating it, said Naruto. As Sasuke laughed, before he felt something behind him, as he slowly turned to see his mother. He stepped back. Did you just lie to me? She asked. Well, you see... Oh, Big Brother Itachi. As Mikado turned. As she heard Naruto and Menma laughing, when she turned back Sasuke was gone. He had ran off, tricking her. That tricky little boy, she said. She chased after him. As Menma simply giggled. As Naruto looked towards his grandson. Hey Gigi, you okay? Huh? What do you mean? You're crying, said Menma. Oh, don't worry, said Naruto. I'm fine. I'm more than fine. As he swung him around, as Menma laughed happily. Time skip. As the both of them were leaving the Uchiha compound after a fun day, as Menma was walking beside Naruto, as Naruto was going through deep thoughts, as Menma was just walking happily, never letting the mood and the damper of the villagers put him down, as he was always happy, cheerful. It was just something about him, just like his mother. When suddenly, someone bumped into him, as Menma fell. As the man turned, he seemed to be in his 20s. Oh, sorry about... He didn't saw who it was. Hey, watch where you're going, you brat, he said. Oh, I'm sorry, said Menma, as he looked down. The man then turned. Next time you bump into someone, you should be taught a lesson. The man then butted into something, as he wondered what the hell was going on. Was there a wall here? As he rubbed his forehead, only to look up into white eyes that peered down on him. The man trembled as he stepped back. You bumped into him, not look when you're going. Apologize, said Naruto. What? And who the hell are you? Apologize, Naruto said once again. Hey, listen, I'm not gonna be apologized to anyone. Especially that. Before the man could utter the last word, Naruto grabbed him by the shoulder and threw him straight up in the air. Everyone around them gasped as he had been paying attention to the scene. Minma's eyes then went wide as Naruto looked up before looking back down. Gigi, what are you doing? Said Minma. Catch him, Minma said. As Naruto looked up with a sigh, as he heard the man screaming for life, before he simply jumped. As he made sure to fix his speed, because if he had grabbed the man, going at full speed, he would have snapped his spine. As he grabbed the man by the back of his shirt, gently, before dropping him on the ground, the man instantly bowed in front of Minma. I'm sorry, he said, as he ran, running for his life, before he collapsed into the corner, passing out from the shock that finally caught up to him after being thrown up in the air like that. As Minma turned towards Naruto, who picked him off the ground. Look, I know you want to be Hokage of these people. And you know that I want to see your dream come true, right? Minma nodded. But I can't let them mistreat you like the way they are doing. These glares that you're getting, these bad wordings, you shouldn't be getting them after all. You're the son of their hero, and if they ever knew that, they would keep their mouth shut. But my mom had a lot of enemies, and if they found out I was alive, they would come after me. And I know that you'll be there to protect me, Gigi, but what if I'm alone one day in a mission, and they all come after me, and you're not there? What will I do? Well then, said Naruto, we'll just have to train you for it to get a lot stronger, so you can defend yourself. And then you can fully accept your mother's name. And let everyone know that your mother is Kushina Uzumaki, said Naruto. As he spoke to Minma, Minma looked around. Gigi, what if they hear you? Oh, don't worry, said Naruto, they won't. The people around were confused because they were not hearing a single thing. They saw his lips moving, but they could not hear the words as that confused them. As they saw the man getting up from the corner, looking around in shock. Before he saw Naruto as their eyes connected, the man ran screaming. Come on. As Naruto took Minma. Time skip. So this is it, said Naruto as he looked around. Yeah, said Minma. Mostly. Sometime when I'm lonely I sleep, with Ren. And also, Sasuke. Mikoto always invited me over and told me I could come whenever I want. And Ren said the same thing. And sometime, when I eat too much at the ramen stand, they make me sleep it off there. Their house is just behind it, and they always have the comfy room for me, said Naruto. As Naruto smiled, he knew how grateful these people were towards his grandson. But this is it. How long have you been living here, said Naruto. For the past 2 years, Minma said. At the orphanage, they said I was getting too old and they kicked me out. At 6, said Naruto. It's still getting harsh. Yeah. And then Gigi came to me, and he got me this apartment. He comes by to give me money monthly, and I buy what I want. But recently, I can't do that anymore. Why not? Well, because Ren keep on taking it away. What? Said Naruto. Oh, not in that way. She's... As Minma walked over to the fridge and opened it. As Naruto blinked, as he looked inside, there was a lot of healthy foods and vegetables. As Minma looked kind of upset. What's wrong? Well, she won't let me buy any ramen. And she also buys me clothes. Well, at least I'm grateful for that. And if there's any money left behind, she'd give it to me. But she told me to not buy so much ramen because it's not good for me and it will stunt my growth. And most times she'd come by. So does Mikoto. Sometimes Mikoto bring me food and sometimes she come over here to cook. She brings Sasuke when Itachi's out. And we all enjoy a meal over here. And I feel like I'm a part of their family. As he closed the fridge was stocked full. There was vegetables, a lot of healthy meat inside. Well, these people were more than generous to Minma. But he didn't see it that way, although he appreciated for what they were doing. The boy was obsessed with ramen, an unhealthy obsession. As Naruto simply chuckled. Huh? What's so funny? They're just looking out for you, said Naruto as he patted Minma on the head. Alright, JJ, you can take the bed, and I'll take the couch. Your bed's a bit too small, said Naruto. Hmm? Oh yeah, you're quite big, said Menma, as he looked over Naruto. So what are we gonna do then? As Naruto looked towards the boy, you go and get washed up. As he went back in the fridge, and I'll make you something to eat. Will do, he said, as he quickly rushed off. As Naruto started to sort through the fridge, a smile came on his face as he remembered the past. Something that most people did not know, he loved to cook. An art that he took great pleasure in, because it was the monkeys back then, the feast that they created, their celebration, it was, well, something to just drool about. As Naruto got to work, meanwhile, in an unknown area, footsteps could be heard. As a man was walking calmly. He had long black hair that reached down into his back. He was wearing a grey t-shirt with a black stripe seeping down his side. He was wearing a cloak over it, standard black pants. His black cloak did not show much, but that is what he was wearing under his black cloak. As the man calmly walked, before coming to a stop, his face was not being shown because he was wearing a mask. A plain black mask with 2 eye holes. There was no mouth hole on it, or nose hole on the mask. Just 2 eye holes with swirls going around them coming down, reaching at the bottom half of the mask. You could not see his face, but you could see his eyes. Both eyes show the crimson insignia of the Sharingan. The 3 totem Sharingan in his eyes, both of them, as he waited calmly. That was when footsteps could be heard as someone else approached him. The person looked towards him before giving a nod as he followed behind her. It was a girl. She had blue hair with a flower in it. She had orange eyes. She was wearing a black clothing with a red cloth on it. She had a piercing under her bottom lip. As the both of them calmly made their way, before they end up in a cylinder room, with one man sitting there at the table. Just a mere sight of him, you felt the power. After all, he saw himself as someone untouchable, a god. He had strange, purple eyes with ripple pattern in them. He had orange hair, piercing all over his face. The hidden rain headband slashed out. The masked man came over as he sat down. The moment he did, he looked over towards the orange hair man, who was the first one to speak. Zetsu is still on the search. It seems the minor nations has gathered back the tail pieces, but they're keeping them on a tight watch. It's rather surprising that Konoha chose the easy way out, instead of capturing all the tail pieces with their might. They decided to rely on their strength, because they knew if they captured them all once again, things would become more problematic. But this just gave us a better opportunity. The masked man then finally spoke. Has Zetsu been able to gather intel? If they have placed them in Jinjulkis already, no such luck yet. But the nations aren't as weak as they're letting on. For the past 30 years plus, they have been regaining their strength, boosting their military army, while at the moment, one cannot stand against a village like Konoha. Grouped together, they might be able to cause some destruction. Their fearless leader, Kushina Uzumaki, has fallen. Without her strength, many thought that Konoha's strength has diminished. But you and I know that is far from the truth. Taking out those villages out of the equations, what about the others? Taki still has the 7th tail in their grasp. Right now, Taki is being known as a dangerous nation, given that they're one of the few that weren't harmed in the attack that destroyed the system that we once had. The Sun still has 1 tails, and Konoha still possesses 9 tails. But the others, if they do contain the tail pieces, they're hiding them very well, not letting a single word about them get loose. Well, it's only a matter of time, the masked man said, as he looked towards Pain. Only a matter of time before the conflict starts up once again. Peace would never last. You and I both know that. Of course I do. That is why I'm going to inflict the same damage that the wrathful God inflicted on those people back in the past, to show them that the war must come to an end. But I won't just stop there. I will rip apart the current system, down to ash, and rebuild it myself, said Pain. Well, that is a dream. How is the others coming? As he turned his head towards the woman, Conan, she finally spoke. It has been rather easy to pick through the number of missing names around the elemental nation. From the destruction in the past, many had abandoned their home, chose to take a different path of living. So we have plenty of applicants to join the Akatsuki. We're still going through them to see which one of them is worthy enough to join us. But we should be ready soon. How is things coming on your end? Asked Pain. Everything is just fine. I'm just waiting for you to get ready so we can begin this. Well, it won't be too long. And on that note, let's leave things here for now. I will be back soon enough. There's something I have to deal with. With that, the masked man, his body dematerialized. He just vanished. It wasn't a teleportation, his body just dematerialized into nothingness. Meanwhile, at an unknown hideout, the masked man was sitting there, showing that the one that was speaking to Pain wasn't the real one. Perhaps a clone, but clones doesn't just dematerialize like that. The man was walking when the ground suddenly broke at his feet as Zetsu came up from the earth. They're keeping them more tight-lipped than I thought. But it's only a matter of time before I find them. But we already know about the 1, the 9, and the 7 tails. That is not enough, the masked man said. We need them all. I know that. But given their military strength, wouldn't it be just best for you to attack them head on? Pain and you should be more than enough. At the moment, that is not what I seek. There are several things that must be done before the completion of gathering the Abyss's, the masked man said calmly. And I will see them done. And let me guess, Zetsu said. The main one before collecting the Abyss's is watching Konoha burn, isn't it? The masked man said nothing, as he simply made his way. As he went down a lot of stairs until he came up in a room. It was a well-furnished room. Despite being far underground, it was a good living arrangement for someone, because there was all the necessary things down here to need. The man came to a stop, as someone was inside on a bed. He then reached out his hand and tapped the wall. He smirked. I see, you've gotten a lot better. Well, what do you expect? A voice said. It was a female voice as she spoke to him. Isn't it time yet? She asked. No, not yet. I have sharpened my skills enough, and I'm ready. I'm bored here. I know you are. But just hold on for a bit longer, the masked man said. Soon enough everything will be ready. And we will move. Just a bit more time. You have waited this long. A bit more time is all I'm asking. Fine, the woman said. If it was anyone else, I would have killed them and left already. But just because it's you, she said. You make me feel special, said the masked man. Don't get too overconfident, she said to him. I won't, he said. It's only a matter of time. Would you like me to take you to the city again? He asked her. Yes. I would like to visit Conan again. Yes, that is doable. As long as you don't wander off this time. I won't, she said. As the masked man simply nodded. Time skip. A week later, as Menma looked up towards his grandfather, before he launched himself forward. But before he could touch Naruto, Naruto was already gone, and bobbed him right outside of the head, as Menma spun around the punch, but Naruto was behind him once again and tapped him right on the head. As Minma spun, the more he did, the more he twirled, the more he attacked. He could not lay a single hit on Naruto. Minma panted a bit. "I can't touch you," he said. As Naruto walked over, the smile on his face as he patted Minma on top of the head. "You've been doing this for a long while now. It shows your endurance. And we're upping your speed by making sure that you react on time," said Naruto. As Minma smiled on that. "It's only a matter of time before I become awesome, just like you. And then, Hokage position. Here I come." As Naruto laughed. "You're dead set on that, aren't you?" "Well, it's not just because my mother was Hokage that I want to be the Hokage." "Then why?" "Well, first thing first. I want to gain the respect of all these people around here. For them to see me as Minma, Uzumaki Namikaze," he whispered. "And for them to see me as a powerful ninja I am. And I want to protect them and make them all love me. And I want to keep my precious people safe no matter what, including you, Jiji." As Naruto laughed at that. "I know you're big and strong, but one day you'll need my help. And I'll be there, no matter what. Just like you're here for me." As the boy smiled, before his stomach rumbled, as the both of them started to laugh. "So, what will it be?" said Naruto after they calmed down. As Minma looked away as he muttered something. "What was that?" "You're cooking," Minma said. As he had his eyes closed and he shouted, "Oh, I thought you'd have want ramen." "Look, let's get this straight," Minma said. "Ramen is the best, but I don't know why, but your cooking is, well, it's different. Makes me feel more happy than eating ramen." As Naruto was shocked. "I'm honored, given how much you love ramen. This is amazing." "Well, perhaps it's because you're my grandfather. Family and all that," Minma said. "And family always stick together, don't they?" As Naruto smiled at that. "I'll go home and get washed up, so I can help you cook as well," said Minma. As Naruto nodded, as Minma ran off, he stopped, as he gave him a smile before running off once again. Minma quickly made his way through the streets. As he did not really stop, he just ran, quickly making his way towards his new household. As they were currently in a large mansion, he didn't know how his Jiji was able to pull this off. But he went to go and talk to the Hokage and then they came here. As Minma rushed inside, the place was large, humongous, and there was a lot of seals everywhere, and the place seemed brand new. There was no dust or anything. He watched as his Jiji simply twisted the seal on the door and it just poof, like he wasn't even there. Unknown to Minma, he was currently inside the Senju compound. As he rushed inside, his room was 10 times larger than his apartment. As he went to have a bath, he couldn't believe that he was actually saying this. But ramen was awesome, but his grandfather cooking was just, he didn't know what it was, but it was homey for some reason. Perhaps that was a feeling that you get when you cook with family, Minma thought to himself. Yeah, that must be it, he thought. Meanwhile, as Naruto stood there, "Are you gonna come out?" he asked. "Oh, so you spotted me, huh?" As the man walked out of the bushes. "I know that you were there the entire time," said Naruto, as he looked towards the white-haired man. "You took your sweet time getting to Konoha." "Well, I was kind of busy," the man said, as he looked over Naruto. As Naruto looked at him. "So you're Jiraiya, huh?" "You remember me?" said Jiraiya. "Well, I remember you from the past, but I did not remember your name until Harrison recalled me on that." Jiraiya looked over at Naruto as he still couldn't believe it. This man was back. A part of Jiraiya hated this man. Yes, he hated him down to his core, because he made Tsunade so unpleasant and unhappy through her life. Jiraiya had been in a team with her, and Tsunade had come every day sad. Jiraiya had found out from Harrison what happened. After everything went chaotic through the elemental nation, and this man had left Tsunade and just left everyone and just vanished. Jiraiya also felt pathetic in his skills, given the fact that he was a seal master, and yet he wasn't able to find this man anywhere. He searched over the entire world, but yet he couldn't find him anywhere. Kushina had told him to stop though, as it didn't make sense that he search anymore. He didn't know why she was saying that, but he still continued to search, hoping that he could find Naruto, unknown to Jiraiya, or unknown to them most. Kushina knew that Naruto was not from this world. Mito had told her everything, but Kushina decided to keep that part to herself. For rumors to be spreading about other beebs coming from different worlds, threatening the elemental nation, that wouldn't be wise for anyone. And they weren't sure how many of them were out there. And her father was kind, perhaps the others were not. And given her father's strength, what else could the others do? So she kept that part to herself. "You're rather angry," said Naruto. "Damn sure I am," said Jiraiya, as he looked towards Naruto. "I spent years searching for you. You broke Tsunade after what you did, that stunt of just leaving and not showing back up. You never got to meet her. She wanted to meet you so badly, but you never appeared. And now you're here. And now you want to find Tsunade and talk to her. She's not gonna want to see you." "That would be up to her," said Naruto. "And what if I say no?" said Jiraiya, as Naruto turned towards him and stepped forward. "You have something that I want. Location, information on Tsunade. It won't be easy for me to search this entire planet for her, but it will take me a long while. But you know where she is. I know that she's gonna hate me and be upset because I was a coward and chose to run away. But that is not your opinion or your option to make of not telling me that I can't see her. So I would suggest you just hold your mouth, because I didn't ask to hear your opinion, and not to mention, I know exactly your relationship with my daughter and her husband. I heard that you were named the godfather of Menma there, and yet he doesn't know who you are." Jiraiya winks at that. "He doesn't have any idea who you are, knowing that you're his godfather. You left him here in this village. I know I mixed up in the past, but you didn't even look back. And yet, they chose to name you the godfather. That meant they must have liked you dearly, but you didn't even look back to try and take care of my grandson. So you have no right of lecturing me in any way. And I would kindly suggest that you keep your opinions to yourself, because I don't really care for you that much. So tell me how this is gonna go. Are you gonna tell me where she is, or will I have to forcefully take the information from you?" Jiraiya narrowed his eyes, but Naruto was calm, as his body was relaxed. Jiraiya wasn't sure if he was on guard or not, but Jiraiya relaxed himself as he sighed. "Look, Tsunade has been through a lot. I just don't want to see her hurt anymore. She's left this village for a long time now, out there gambling and drinking." As Naruto looked up, just like Hoshirama, but that man was a whiz when it comes to gambling, always winning. But from what Sarutobi has told me, this village, me, everything in the past hurt her so much, she refused to even look back here. I just want to talk to her, that's all. She can choose to hate me as much as she can, but I just want to talk to her." "She's not going to forgive you," said Jiraiya. "That will be up to her," said Naruto. "Alright, fine," said Jiraiya. "But I'm tagging along." "Why?" said Naruto. "She's my former teammate. I would like to see her." As Naruto looked over the man, "I would not condone a relationship between you two." What?" said Jiraiya. "You heard me," said Naruto. "And what gives you the right to tell me that? After all, it's her opinion." "So you do like her," said Naruto. "What? I never said that," said Jiraiya. "Judging from your face muscles, and when you say her name, that's a twinkle in your eye, I can say that you do. But no, you will not ever go near her. And who are you to tell me that? If I was here when your little protege met my daughter, I would not condone the relationship either, until I have spoken to him and get to know him. But from what Sarutobi told me, he was a nice man. But you on the other hand seem like a lecherous pervert. And that's all I have to say." As Jiraiya's eyebrow twitched at that violently, but Naruto simply walked off, leaving him to his wits. Like you can tell me what to do, said Jiraiya. As Naruto heard him. Well, I won't stop you, said Naruto. Jiraiya thought. I'll simply break every bone in your body. And do it over and over again. Jiraiya blinked as he looked at Naruto who was still walking away. He's joking, right? Jiraiya thought to himself. Time skip. Menma was on Naruto's back as he was wearing a black t-shirt with orange stripe running down, black pants and sandals. As Naruto's clothing had changed, his long white hair was tied up as he had a band holding it together in a ponytail going down into his back. He had on a loose white shirt with black pants and sandals. Harrison had been very pleasant with the finances, allowing them to get what they want, as Naruto was noticing that the man just wanted to get on his good side. As they made their way, they arrived at the gate, as the eternal gate guards Aizumo and Katetsu saw them. Aizumo raised an eyebrow. Leaving Konoha, he said, as he looked towards the man, who he hasn't seen before. He never saw this man before in his life. As Aizumo then saw the boy in his back, he narrowed his eyes. Isn't that... Nothing to worry about here, the voice of Jiraiya said, as he came in view. Oh, Jiraiya-sama, Aizumo said. Be with me. Well then, come on, said Jiraiya, as Naruto simply walked past, with Menma on his back, as they made their way. Menma narrowed his eyes as he looked over towards the white-haired man, confused who he was, as he had absolutely... Wait. All those reading that Ren had him do was kicking in now, as he looked at the man. If he wasn't mistaken, Jiraiya? Jiraiya the Sannin? As Jiraiya turned a smile. So you know me, kid. Yeah, you're one of the legendary Sannins. But what are you doing here? Hey JJ, you never told me. Where are we going? It's a surprise, said Naruto. Okay, said Menma. So, why is he coming? Menma asked. He's bringing us a surprise. Oh, okay, said Menma. Jiraiya was thankful that Naruto did not say anything about who he was to the boy, because he wasn't sure how to break it to him yet. How would you tell someone that you were their godfather, and you did not, well, exactly be there for them? Well, Naruto wasn't there for him either, but this boy was nice, incredibly so. And he would accept the fact that Jiraiya was out doing spy work, right? But a part of Jiraiya knew that wasn't the reality. When Minato and Kushina died, he was heartbroken, and it was hard for him to, well, be here at the village. But still, that wasn't an excuse. Of course it wasn't. As he sighed, as they made the way. Lucky for them though, Tsunade was not far off. She was in Tansuka. There was a gambling competition going on there, and Tsunade was raking it in. Time skip. Tsunade was shocked. So was her young apprentice Shizune, and she couldn't believe what she was seeing in her eyes. Shizune, are you seeing this? Shizune looked towards the pig in her arm, who also looked shocked as well, like it knew what was going on. Yes, Lady Tsunade. Tsunade looked on as she believed that some great catastrophe was going to happen. It had to be the case because there was no way in hell that she was winning this much without any backlash from the universe. Something was wrong, really wrong. Meanwhile, with the speed that they were moving at, they arrived at Tansuka really quickly. This is a big gambling town, with a great gambling competition going on. The last thing I heard, she was in this region. There are 3 other smaller nations nearby. 3 other smaller countries we can visit, Jiraiya said, to see if she's there. No need, said Naruto as he stooped down. Menma was asleep on his back. Jiraiya knew that this man had incredible shock control because Menma was not holding on to him, and yet the boy was stuck to him like glue, in a perfect sleeping position. As Naruto stooped down and placed his 2 fingers on the ground, Jiraiya felt a pulse as it washed through the entire area. As Naruto's eyes roamed under his eyelids, Jiraiya could see his eyes moving under his eyelids until he snapped his eyes open. Founder, said Naruto. What? Said Jiraiya, as Naruto slowly took Menma off his back and handed him to Jiraiya. Hey, what's going on? You might want to hold on to him, said Naruto, as the 2 of them made their way. Meanwhile, Tsunade was exiting the casino, as she was moving on to another one, with Shizune closely behind her. She felt something strange. Suna. She blinked. No. There was only two persons in the world that called her that name. The one that made it up was someone that she despised to this day for leaving her. And then her grandfather had started to call her that name. But then he passed. But she still heard it from that man. Tsunade slowly turned, followed by Shizune. Her eyes first landed on Jiraiya, who was holding a small boy in his arms. Then, white eyes, flowing white hair. His face hasn't even changed. Her eyes turned murderous. The ground underneath her cracked. Many people ran for safety. As an explosion of chakra, the rage, the anger, all of it exploded out at once. Her speed has not diminished over the past years, it seems, Jiraiya thought, because she was upon him in seconds. Her fist was glowing with so much chakra it was threatening to burst as she brought it down on Naruto. If Naruto did not stop this, as Jiraiya saw how much power was in that punch, she might destroy this entire section of the town. But yet, as he glanced towards Naruto was calm, he stood there. Jiraiya saw something strange happen. But guys, we'll be in episode right here. If you want to see the next person, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on the bell notifications to be posted. But I'm off for now, see you guys soon. Peace out.